viable that you had an opinion on my life outside your place of horror. Because I do things amongst my own context of horror. So if you do, again, that's my main point. If you claim that you have that interest in horror, that's my main point. Is horror. That's not my issue. You have interest on things. As up as you claim that's a viable thing is horror. That because I do something that was viable, that somebody had an interest on that outside of their place of horror. Anybody can have an interest on something that's not a viable reason to have an opinion. So up as you're calling me the issue that you argue with my life outside your place of horror because you're a lack about your little pussy horror. It's just up as you keep claiming like that would be things of horror, that your little gooch of horror would be good or viable to my life in ways your pussy. Sometimes you claim that you're causing some effect on my life as horror, that your gooch, putting it in my, that your gooch of horror was good or viable to my life in ways your pussy. So sometimes you keep calling that my issue, that's your interest in horror, how your little pussy was viable to horror because you seem to have a fat little pussy. Because you're a fat little whore that seems to necessarily compete with me as a fat little whore. Sometimes you keep calling that a viable thing. So sometimes you call that my issue, that some little puss had interest in my life outside their place of whore. And keep claiming that would be a viable thing as a whore. It's not because you claim that was a viable thing as a horror that you're lack about it. It's not because you claim that that's what it's about as a horror. As you have an opinion on my life that it's about how I live by some little whore's interest in horror when I'm a grown woman that can make wrong choices. It's not because you're claiming that I'm making the wrong choices for my life when I'm living it for my place in that. I'm living in the only environment that I have in my place in that. The only situation I have. So it's not because you're claiming I'm making the wrong choices by being in that where I have. It's not because you keep claiming my life had some other validity in the past as horror. It's not because you keep claiming that's a reflection of me as a horror, that you keep collaborating that my life has some invalid. That's not because you keep looking into evidence of my life and acting like your food is viable to that in ways your pussy. It's not because you claimed if your pussy had been as a horror that yet again your little gooch or horror was good or viable to my life in ways your pussy wasn't horror. Not because you claimed if you called that a thing as a horror. This is not because you keep claiming if your little puss kept having an opinion on my life as horror, that yet again your little gooch or horror was good or that's not my issue. That's your main. It's not because you keep calling your little pussy. That's not my issue. You like outdoing me as a horror because that's how much of a lack of boundary to little pussy you were as a whore because you're a little whore. It's not because you're calling me this. I don't need to live by your interest as a whore because you have that lack of boundary, little punta. Because you're a little lack of boundary. It's not supposed to call that a viable thing as a whore, or my issue as a whore, that some little punta that's conspiring to my belly is a little whore because they have a little